today is from John 9, 1 through 12. If you would please stand for it. As he walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with the saliva and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. Then he went and washed and came back able to see. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar began to ask, "Is this not the man who used to sit and beg?" Some were saying, "It is he." Others were saying, "No, but it is someone like him." He kept saying, "I am the man." But they kept asking him, "Then how were your eyes opened?" He answered, "The man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and said to me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' Then I went and washed and received my sight."
Hi, Circle.
Hi, Tyrone.
Always such an honor when I'm asked to stand and share my thoughts with you. And thank you for the opportunity. Right off the bat, I should tell you, this is not my real voice. You probably noticed that. I'm not contagious. I'm not really sick. I had a cold. It went away, and it left me with this.
Well,
Here's the thing. I think this makes me sound sexy. Considering the fact that this is as close as I'll ever get to actually being sexy, I'm just going to work this for as long as I can. And there's an inappropriate way to start a song. Who sinned here? That question from the disciples just leaps off the page of me whenever I read this passage. It is significant, I think, that the focal point of this passage turns out not to be the individual who was blind from birth, who spent days begging at the gate, and now for the first time in his life can actually see his world, see his parents. He can now find work other than begging. He can see. The focus is not on the miracle, the actual miraculous event that happened in front of many witnesses. The focus is on who caused the blindness. Who sinned here, the man or his parents? The focus is on why Jesus is healing on the Sabbath. And the focus is on who is this person, Jesus, and by what authority does he perform miracles? The formerly blind man and his parents are pulled into this conversation/debate around these issues when really they should have been at Applebee's celebrating. Who sinned here, the man or his parents? Whose fault is this? Where can we lay blame for this man's lifelong blindness? I'm not sure the disciples were actually asking Jesus to respond to that question, or if they were asking Jesus to step into the debate at that time around the belief that anyone born with a physical malady was affected by that malady because of sin on someone's part. And then we have the Pharisees. Yes, the Pharisees who are so eager to convict Jesus for his behavior on the Sabbath and are eager to question his authority to perform miracles on the Sabbath or any other day for that matter. What's missing here? What's missing here is the acknowledgement, the realization of the manifestation of God's glory and the healing power in the life of this young man. There is indeed a great deal, I think, of spiritual blindness in this story. During this season of Lent, we in the Christian tradition are encouraged to engage in a period of self-examination, prayer, sacrifice, and repentance. We are asked to look at and root out those areas in our lives that are keeping us from full communion with God. With that in mind, as I studied this story in preparation for this message, I couldn't help but think about those places in my life where I intentionally and unintentionally refuse to see. Those places that are too painful, too frightening, that would require too much of me, those spaces that would require some real repentance on my part, a real turning away from certain behaviors, those places where blindness suits me, those places where blindness sustains me, where blindness keeps me from the truth. Where and when have I walked right past miracles in my path without so much as a nod in that direction?
I get it.
Last November, at Thanksgiving, my brother and his girlfriend invited me to Thanksgiving dinner at her home in Waynesville. Through several previous conversations with my brother, I knew that his girlfriend was a Trump supporter and that was an area of contention between the two of them. I went to dinner, grudgingly, where, very, very intentionally on our parts, we avoided the subject of the election. I came and went from this woman's home, where she showed me some pretty radical hospitality, with a heart full of resentment towards her for what I believed she had, and others like her had done to this country. This woman, this perfectly lovely woman, who has some serious trials and struggles in her life, and who completely, honestly believed that a Trump presidency would give her a better life, opened her home to me and worked really hard to be a great host. And I left her home without an ounce of compassion or understanding for her. Who sinned here? The question for me, the question for all of us, I believe, is around how we move through these unarguably dark, difficult times. How do we move through these times with grace, with dignity, with mercy for ourselves and for others? Because, honestly, none of us, as individuals or as a society or as a nation, will survive if we don't find a way, a new way, a way that is about compassion, listening, and understanding. Not just giving the appearance of listening, which is pretty easy to do, not just tolerating the other, whoever we have decided the other is, but true, open-hearted relationship building with those whose opinions may differ from ours, or those whose beliefs or actions go against what we believe. A couple of weeks ago, we were privileged to hear a sermon by the outstanding Guy Sales, and he talked about our identity as Christians. At one point in the sermon, he talked about our identities as beloved children of God. I walked out of circle that night with the overwhelming realization that somehow, in the midst of the darkness and sadness and anger and grief and emptiness in my heart, I had forgotten who I was. I no longer resonated with that identity as a beloved child of God. And that, I believe, is where the healing starts. To understand and to fully internalize the miracle that each one of us is. As we move toward a wider scope of healing for our communities and for our nation. An acceptance of our own miraculous nature, an acceptance that radiates from inside us and permeates all parts of us. An acceptance of ourselves that shatters the blindness and allows us to see others as the miracles they are. No matter how they voted or where they stand politically, that is how we start the process of healing. And we must also internalize and make real in our lives the understanding that every difficult circumstance, no matter how difficult, no matter how dark, no matter how frightening, no matter how seemingly impossible, is, as Jesus says in our passage tonight, an opportunity for the work of God to come alive in that situation. It, whatever the it is an opportunity for us as believers to show the world what a mighty God we serve. As many of you know, I work at a local charter school. Several years ago, I became acquainted with a young man who was to become one of my closest friends. Our friendship continued after he graduated from our school and went off to high school, and continues even now as he completes his third year of college. Michael is, in spite of his youth, one of the most grounded, wise, good-hearted human beings I have ever known. Last fall, he texted me and invited me to attend the Donald Trump rally, which was to happen in Nashville in September. My response to him was not kind. I questioned why he wanted to attend such a rally. I questioned his motives, and although he clearly told me he was not a Trump supporter, I accused him of having a hand in something that would one day destroy me and my community. I may very well have done some serious damage to a friendship that means a great deal to me. Now, how might that conversation have been different if I had seen the miracle in front of me? This young man, who was still my friend 7 years after he left our school, who was not only offering to spend time with me, but I think also, in hindsight, was seeking some kind of approval from me for doing something that he thought might hurt me. How did I miss this opportunity to deepen connection and relationship with this young man and show him the radical love of Christ? So I got to talk about a movie now, because I always do. One of my favorite films is an animated feature called How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon is a story set in Viking times of a teenager named Hiccup, whose greatest desire in life is to be a dragon slayer in the tradition of his foreparents, as dragons are the sworn enemies of his people. In his quest to slay his first dragon, Hiccup seriously wounds one of the most dangerous breeds of dragons and ends up nurturing the dragon back to health. What unfolds is a beautiful tale of acceptance and relationship building and an end to the blindness that had affected both humans and dragons. It's an absolutely beautiful story with all kinds of learning in there, I think, for all of us. I recommend it highly for the many lessons it holds. Sisters and brothers, our very lives, our very futures depend on our ability, our willingness to see past the blindnesses, the many ways that our fears, our privilege, our ignorance of each other blind us to the truth of who we are and who our neighbors are. And this same blindness stops us from seeing and being true manifestations of the power and glory of God. So the task I've set before me this Lenten season is to take that journey, is to come to understand the places where I'm blind, the places where blindness affects my life and my relationships and my work in the community. And I will honestly tell you that a lot of my blindness has been pretty intentional. Since November 8th or 9th, whenever it was, I have closed my eyes to a lot of things and to a lot of people simply because I just didn't want to see them or what was happening. So I actually ask you, as I ask myself, I beg you, to walk through the world differently this Lenten season and begin to look and actively seek out the manifestations of Christ. Look for the miracles in your life. Look for the places where God's radical love and acceptance show up in your everyday life. Not just notice them, but actively seek them. Even if they show up in the dark, difficult, scary corners of your life. Amen.
Amen. Amen.